Welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money, and I am your host, Michelle Graves, known nationally as the Money Lady since 1976. Been in the industry handling insurance, investments, real estate, banking, international credit, you name it. When it comes to money, I've been there. But today's show is very, very special for me because it's covering our veterans, those soldiers who fought so valiantly to preserve the American way. They were our insurance policy so that we would have the freedom to live in a democratic government. And so today I will be focusing on a remarkable program for the American veteran and widows of veterans. And I'm bringing to the show right now a gentleman who has been an American veterans advocate for many years, Jim Florio, who is my guest for this next hour. If you are a veteran or a widow or know family members, church members, social members, friends, please sit down. This show is just for you. So without further delay, I am going to get started with the program, and I thank you so much for being a part of today's broadcast. Jim Florio.
Hi.
Very nice to have you here today.
Thank you, Michelle. It's very nice to be here.
I am so impressed that I actually canceled my show where I was going to talk to the people to be able to have you on. And I am so honored that you came on to the show to talk about this program. And I'm going to ask questions, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of people that will want to know about the program, how it works, who qualifies, who doesn't. So do you want to open up and begin?
Well, sure. Just a little background to make it straightforward. I do not work for the VA.
That's
I work
fine.
within the VA guidelines. I'm a paralegal working with a VA accredited attorney. His name is Tyrone Borger of Lebanon, Ohio. And I kind of stumbled onto this VA benefit by accident years ago.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I mean, it's just an amazing benefit. Not many veterans know it's out there. Our VA does a wonderful job. You've worked with the VA, I understand.
Yes, I have.
They try so hard to help so many people, and I think they're swamped.
They are swamped.
They are swamped.
They're swamped.
They're probably the hardest working group in the government.
I believe they are.
And
I believe they are.
I am a retirement planner by trade. So I had heard from some friends that there was a VA benefit out there for older veterans, 65 or older,
Okay.
needing care. Well, I happened to have an aunt who I thought at the time was the widow of a veteran. So when I went to talk to her, she informed me she was a veteran.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, she was.
That is amazing.
I had no idea. I knew her husband, who had passed away,
Yes.
had fought at the Battle of the Bulge.
Wow.
Yeah, so I went.
World War II.
World War II, yes. So I went to talk to her about being the widow of a veteran, and she straightened me out pretty quick. She said, "I'm a veteran." So I said, "Well, good." And she had been a WAC in World War II. And she has 5 children, all my cousins, of course, and they're taking care of her. She's gotten older, her mobility's off, that sort of thing. We all see that in older people as we get there. We all know somebody.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And her children have no problem taking care of their mother, of course. But everybody needs a little break.
Everybody needs a little help.
Yeah, a little help. So I found out about this benefit through an organization in Cincinnati called U.S. Benefits Analysts. They have a great website, respectthevet.org. It will tell you all about this benefit and how to qualify. I use that, those guys down there in Cincinnati, I use that website as a very good support if I have questions.
I checked. I did go to the website, and it is exhaustive.
Yes, it's got everything on there.
It's got everything on it.
So with their help, I helped my aunt apply for this benefit, and now she's getting somewhere around $1,600 tax-free a month.
Did you say tax-free?
Tax-free. Does not count as income.
Because it is
It's considered a pension reimbursement pension benefit, non-service connected. Yes.
Now, can you go into a little bit more detail on what that is when you say non-service connected?
Well, there are a number of benefits out there the VA offers.
Okay.
And a lot of them are service connected, which means you were hurt or your disability was service, something happened to you while you were in the service.
Okay.
This is a benefit that is more like a long-term care benefit.
Oh, really?
Wow. And we'll get into the medical a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
But whatever your disability is, did not have to be caused by your time in the service. So it's a great benefit. Hardly anybody knows about it. Only 1 out of every 7 widows that is eligible is receiving it.
Because they don't know.
They don't know. Exactly, Michelle.
Well, you're going to tell us today, so we will know.
Yes, yes.
That's why I have you here.
But to get back to my aunt's story, it has allowed her daughter...
She's getting $1,700?
About $1,600 something.
$1,600 tax-free.
Tax-free.
Which has got to be on a taxable basis around $2,200.
That's what I would figure,
Yeah. That's significant.
Oh, it's significant. I mean, especially all these veterans, you know, they're on a fixed income generally.
Right.
So it makes a big difference. But it has actually freed up her daughters some so they can have their own life by bringing in, it pays for someone to come in.
Okay.
And since I helped her, I said, geez, this is just something that's right to do.
Okay.
So I talked to my attorney, and we decided that this would be basically our pro bono sort of thing to do for the community.
But I think that's such an admirable thing to do.
Well, you know and I know that our veterans, especially our older Korean War veterans, World War II, and now our Vietnam veterans are getting up there, they're almost like a forgotten generation. Don't you think? I mean,
I think the tendency is we're grateful they did it,
but we don't think about it every day.
We don't think about it every day.
And I mean, the great veterans we have right now fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq,
oh boy,
they at least have the benefit of 24/7 cable coverage. Unlike our World War II vets, nobody hardly talks about them or the Korean War vets anymore.
Right. And actually, Jim, they don't talk about it.
No,
my dad was in the Pacific, and he did not ever talk about the war, but he definitely had opinions. Because when Vietnam erupted, it was like, you know, in protest, and he was just like, So we know that a lot of them are accustomed to generationally just being quiet.
Right.
They just suffer it through.
Well, just what you said brings me back to a great story. World War II bomber pilot I met in an assisted living home. Now here he is. He's sitting across from me just like you are. He's in a wheelchair. He's got oxygen. And he said, Jim, I shouldn't take this benefit. Somebody else in worse shape probably needs it. And that's how those older veterans think.
Right, but
I mean,
he
needed
the benefit, though, Jim.
Sure
How did that work with him? He was in an assisted living already.
That
so
means
the program does apply to people that are in assisted living.
Yes, actually, it's much easier medically to qualify once you're in assisted living, and I'll get to the qualifications now if that's good for you.
I don't care.
Okay,
we're just conversating.
Okay. First of all, it is for veterans 65 years or older. I work with a benefit called the Aid and Attendance benefit.
Okay, aid and attendance.
And what that means is the person that's trying to qualify needs the aid and attendance of another person.
Okay.
Okay? Hence, that's why assisted living.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. The first thing is 65 years or older or fully disabled.
Okay. 65 years
or fully disabled, such as someone on Social Security disability.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
That's nice. Okay.
Then it would be any discharge but dishonorable.
Okay.
Any discharge but dishonorable.
So it could be a general discharge.
Exactly. Honorable discharge, general discharge.
Okay.
And there is periods of war, I have them in front of me, And World War, well, we don't have to worry, unfortunately, about the World War I vets anymore.
Yeah, they're probably
They're
gone.
gone, yes.
Yeah.
World War II, the periods of war are December 7th, 1941 through December 31st, 1946.
Okay.
Those are your World War II veterans that qualify.
Okay.
Korean War is June of 27, 1950
Okay.
through January 31st of 1955.
Okay.
The Vietnam vets, who I'm just now starting to see, are August 5th of 64 through May 7th of 1975. There is an exception for Vietnam veterans.
Okay, what is that exception?
That exception is if you were in country after February of 61, but before August of 64, you are eligible, but you had to be in.
And when I said, what does that mean in country?
That means you actually had to be in Vietnam from
Wow,
61
okay.
to 64.
Is that any one time or sequentially or that whole period?
One day.
One day?
One day.
One day.
One day. This benefit is also another eligibility is 90 consecutive days of duty,
Okay.
of which only one day did there have to be a conflict going on. And you did not, except for that little exception in Vietnam, you did not ever have to be in country. You could have been a
Okay.
clerk in San Diego
Okay.
and still be eligible for this if your time of service fell in those different parameters.
So that I'm not confused, the dates you've given me, if a person was sitting in a desk in Washington and never actually did physical combat, would they be disqualified?
No,
Okay.
just as long as they had 90 consecutive days of duty.
Okay.
And during one of those 90 days, there was a conflict going on between those dates I gave you.
And they didn't have to be there.
No,
But it had, so it's 90 days
exactly.
of consecutive duty. Which in the military, you're going to do 90 days.
I'd have an hard, unless you get hurt.
Unless you get hurt,
Right.
Then that's another thing entirely. So let me go through those dates again, because
Okay.
that is important. Starting with the World War II, for qualification, you must be 65 years or older, or completely disabled, like Social Security disability.
Correct.
Would be a qualifier.
Right.
Okay. And you have to meet the war criteria.
Yes, the periods of a conflict that
Of
is
the
set down
conflict.
by the VA.
Okay, and you had to have been engaged in the military for 90 consecutive days, of which in that 90 consecutive day period, one day touched into those conflict situations.
Correct.
That's just about everybody,
Yes.
Jim,
Yeah. Yeah.
really.
Yes.
But the person has to be medically impaired to take advantage of this particular benefit.
Exactly, and that is the most important thing. And off that website, respectthevet.org, you can actually scroll down the right homepage on the right side and click off the medical form your doctor needs to fill out.
Okay, so a person that is not medically challenged would not be a candidate for this product.
No,
Okay.
no. And the big triggers for the VA are mobility.
Okay.
Mobility is huge with our older veterans. You know, a lot of times they have to have somebody get them around to go to the store. Macular degeneration, blindness is huge.
Okay, which is the actual loss of vision.
Exactly.
In the cornea, I think it's the retina. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure which one, but it is a
a
big trigger.
It's a big trigger.
Yes.
Because you can't see, you're blind.
Right. And
Yeah.
then there's also, you have, I mentioned the mobility, you have
Right.
dementia that happens, you have Parkinson's, you have Alzheimer's, all these different diseases that cause the veteran to need the help of someone else.
Okay, so he or she, under this program, would still be eligible for Medicare for
Yes.
their health care,
Right.
but this has to deal with aid and attendance.
Attendance, this is more like a long-term care.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, which is very attractive.
Oh, yeah, I'll go over the possible amounts that you could receive.
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
Okay, if you are a widow of a veteran and you apply and you are accepted for the whole benefit for the widow, it's a little over $1,000 tax-free a month.
That's significant.
It's significant for a lot of these people. I told you a story, and I'll tell it again, about a lady from Mason that called me almost crying because she had gotten the benefit, and on that very day she received her check from the VA, she was having to decide between fuel oil and food. So it changed her entire life.
Right. Now, under the aid and attendance product that the VA offers, how long has this product been in existence?
If I have my dates right, I believe since 1951.
1951?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, 1951, and I still have not come across a veteran that has ever heard of this benefit unless it is a veteran that has talked to me because of another veteran that I've helped. Yeah, that I've helped apply for this or showed him how to apply.
That is astounding. Is this properly funded? Is this program?
Yes.
I mean, is it like Social Security where we just...
No, what I've been led to believe, and I believe this, is that George Bush put $22 billion in this fund that can only be used. Of course, we know how only is in Washington, but can only be used at this time for our older veterans. So that's why
So that's a very securely funded program.
Exactly, and we need to get that money out to them. For one thing, they deserve it.
Yes, they do.
It is the right thing to do.
It is the right thing to do, Jim.
And with a lot of those older veterans, they feel like they're getting recognized.
Yes.
And it's just great to see them when that first check comes to them.
Well, I have to tell you, I have a very special affection for the veterans. I started a mortgage bank many, many years ago, since sold, but I was honored by the President of the United States for the work that I did in providing housing for veterans through the VA loan program. A lot of lenders did not want to fool with the program because of the government and the red tape and the veterans and all of the qualifiers. But I got such a positive response from so many veterans, and the number of veterans I put into homes was astronomical. So that was in the early 2000. I received that recognition, and so they're very near and dear to me.
Well, and aren't they the most appreciative group of people
they're nice
that
guys.
you've ever run
and gals.
into?
They're
unbelievable.
I just have to say that I was, a lot of the banks at that time were like, Michelle, why do you even want to do this? And I said, because they did it for us.
Exactly, exactly.
They did it for us, and we cannot be lightweight about dying. They were willing to die, and many of them did die and became disabled and all of the things that go along with war. War is ugly.
Right.
And they did this because of honor, and that to me means something.
And everybody just about has someone they know that served.
Yes.
I never had the privilege of serving. I was right after the Vietnam War, high school, that sort of thing. My father was in Korea. I have a nephew right now that is on his 3rd tour, Special Forces in Afghanistan.
Whoa, Special Forces, he's not kidding.
And he's right in the middle of it.
Oh my God.
And so,
my prayers for your nephew.
Thank you. But we're all, I don't feel unique in that. Almost everybody now knows somebody that was in some sort of war or other, or is now. And I don't think, even with these great benefits, if we can ever pay them back for their service.
You can't. Not at the point a person willing to die.
And they're dying for you.
And they're dying for me.
Exactly.
It's very real.
Yes.
So let's talk about this product a little bit more, because I've got conceptually what it's framed like. I'm secure with the funding, because that's everything, which is this product going to be around? Well, 1951 to today, heavily funded, congressional support. That means a lot for the continuity and sustainability of a product, because they got to pay out benefits.
Right.
And so they have to have it deeply funded. So that's excellent. Those two things are excellent. So it's 65 and over. or disabled.
Correct.
Completely, and widows included.
Yes.
That's a nice thing, and she has to meet the same guidelines, 65 and over.
And medically.
And medically as well.
Right.
Okay, so this is not like a income check. This is really a check that is for people that are medically eligible. That's significant because that's where the greatest need is for that group of people as they grow older.
They're most expensive.
Yeah. Medical care is astronomical, Jim.
Unbelievable.
You know this.
Oh, yeah, it's
I'm
unbelievable.
like, you got to be kidding me.
I mean,
more than a hotel.
And I go to a lot of assisted living homes because there's many veterans in them.
Right.
And a couple thousand maybe or 1,500 extra a month is a huge amount of money when you're paying those kind of prices for that excellent care.
Right, and they need the care.
They do need the care.
They need the care, and we want it to be high quality care, so every dollar counts. Well, give me some other program descriptives.
Okay, well, first of all, we went over the amount for the widow.
Yes.
And real quickly, I learned something talking to these widows. They suffered also. It's hard on them to have they're taking care of the whole family. That's while he's away.
Yes.
And they're worried every day what's happening to their husband.
Yes.
So it was a hardship on them also. They are very deserving of this benefit, in my opinion. Secondly, for a single veteran, the benefit is around, full benefit, $1,650 tax-free a month.
That's not bad.
A married veteran is a little over $19,000 tax-free a month.
1,900.
I mean 1,900. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
19,000.
That would be.
I will be marrying a veteran. I will be looking for a veteran. World War II will work. I'll be looking for a veteran. All kidding aside.
And if you have two married veterans,
okay,
it is over $23,000 a year.
They need it.
Yeah, so we don't run into that situation very often.
Yeah, when both of them were in the war.
But it is a substantial amount of money.
But it's being used for their medical care.
Exactly.
Where the need is greatest. Because medical care, do you have any stats on medical care? What does it cost for a person to be in assisted living today?
Well, I go to assisted living homes all the time, talk to these people. I've seen them anywhere.
Oh, define for our viewers, what is an assisted living?
Okay, assisted living home is a home where the meals, generally in Ohio, the meals are cooked for the occupants or they have a cafeteria.
Okay.
They may need the assisted living because they need assistance, period, you know?
Okay.
They need assistance with their mobility.
Okay.
They need a doctor on call, a lot of them.
Okay.
And a lot of times we see couples in these assisted living homes where one is,
wife.
yeah, one is medically in need of assisted living and the other isn't.
Okay.
And those people work hard in there, the ones I've been to. I mean, we're looking at prices anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 a month. Then when you talk about specific areas like the Alzheimer's unit, you can go from $5,000 to $8,000 a month.
Yep. Easily.
Easily, yes.
Easily. So how are they paying for these expenses right now?
Well, a lot of these people, especially in assisted living, have incomes.
Okay.
Social Security, pension, that sort of thing. 99 out of 100 times they're underwater as far as how much income they have coming in compared to the price of the facility.
Okay.
They're drawing down their assets.
Right.
And what they're generally looking at down the road, and you know this from your time with finances, they're looking at Medicaid down the road.
Yeah, which is totally impoverished.
Exactly. This benefit helps a lot of these people stay off Medicaid for more years, and that's a good thing.
Well, I would think it is a good thing.
Yes.
Because most seniors, if given a choice, would prefer to be independent.
Sure.
They would not like to be dependent upon the government to attend to their needs under this program.
Right.
Because Medicaid, you do have to be broke.
Yeah, you're not going to have it.
You don't have anything.
You're not going to.
$1,500 is it. End of story. Next.
And the other thing I run into with a lot of these veterans is their family members or children want all their money to go to taking care of mom and dad. But mom and dad would love to be able to leave something
to their children.
Tell their children they've worked their whole lives.
Yes,
they served.
Yes.
And if this benefit can help them do that, I think it's a win-win situation for everyone.
I think it is. So explain how this would work. They meet the parameters. Most importantly, the doctor has to provide a statement,
right,
which determines their medical condition and qualification parameters.
Exactly.
Okay, so strictly medically specific.
Right.
Okay, that's very, very important. How long does it take for all the paperwork to be processed?
It's actually, when I first started helping do this, I used to see a turnaround of about 3 to 5 months.
Okay.
More and more people are learning about this.
And taking advantage of it.
And taking advantage. So it is taking anywhere from, I've seen 5 to 9 months. That's the bad news. The good news is it's retroactive.
So all the money you would have from the date of application until receipt of funds, all that money comes to you in a lump sum check?
Yes.
That
first one.
Word.
Yes, it's a nice
That's
check.
Christmas.
Yes.
In July.
But you can be actually receiving the benefit, the monthly check.
Yes.
And receive the bigger check later. There's a fiduciary process, and I don't want to get into that right now.
Right.
But that just is, if the veteran is ruled by the VA incompetent to handle his money, then there's a fiduciary process where you pick a daughter or a son to handle your money.
Right.
And then there's a background check, and that extends that big check you're waiting on out a little longer.
But nonetheless,
you still would be receiving the monthly check.
Yes, that's very, very attractive. So why do you think more people don't know about this product, including myself? Because when I heard your presentation, I immediately said, what? Because frankly, I was like, I don't want to, I don't want to hear any more government anything. Social Security is done, toast, and I certainly didn't want to cross over, but my research has pretty much validated that this is a legitimate, credible program of the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Yes.
And it has been going along quite well.
Right.
So how does this work? If a person is in say they're not in an assisted living.
They're at home.
And they're at home, which is more often the case with so many people.
Run into this constantly, yes.
Okay, so they're at home. Give me the scenario.
Well, first of all, one more qualification.
Okay.
There are asset and income limits, and they're based on the individual. So that's something we can't really get into here. That's the only time, besides if you need help filling out the paperwork, that is the only time that an attorney needs to get involved.
Okay.
Now, in this case, unless there's something involved legally that he has to do with an asset, there is no charge from the group I work with.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So that is a lot of the reason people don't apply for this benefit, because once they hear, or they see it on the government website, there are asset and income limits, they automatically don't think they apply.
Right.
A lot of people think you have to be almost homeless to get something from the government.
Right.
Not true in this case.
Right. Well, I think based upon what I've read, the asset and income guidelines, that is something that can be worked with the advice of a good VA certified attorney.
Yeah, and that's why my attorney's VA accredited. That's why I got my paralegal certificate, so I could work under him.
Right, to make sure those things happen, because even with assets, you would like to be able to take advantage of as many benefits as are available to minimize your hemorrhaging.
Yes.
Because with Medicaid, which is an entirely different scenario, you cannot have any assets.
Exactly.
Zero. End of story. Now, married couples, the spouse has, spousal rights in the residence, but for the most part, you're done.
Right. And the VA does allow you to have X amount of assets.
Okay.
And it's a great thing because they don't make you be impoverished.
See, that is so wonderful to me.
Yes.
It really is, because alternatively, right now, if a person is looking at long-term, and all of us should be, if you don't have long-term care insurance,
Oh,
you're done.
you're done. Yes.
I told a lady the other day that was rather irritated because I told her, I am not handling your investments because you've got a big fat elephant in your living room called you don't have any kind of long-term care. And if you have to go into a facility or in some type of a home care situation and you don't have insurance, you're going to wind up bleeding your assets.
Oh, immediately.
Immediately.
Yes.
And the stock market is not the place to play right now when you start talking about trying to get rid of this and get rid of that to meet those guidelines. She was not happy.
Well, if you're exactly right. If you don't have some kind of long-term care plan or insurance, and you are heavily invested in variable investments such as the stock market, if you need care and the stock market goes down at the same time, now you're taking a double hit.
And that to me, and it's not recoverable, Jim.
No, especially at age.
Right.
Yeah,
it's not. It's not. If you're 70 or 60 even, you're not going to have enough time ahead of you to play this game. It's a great game for young people, but it's
Right.
not a great game for people in our age group. Jim.
And I run into that with veterans too.
Do you?
And since I am a retirement planner, even if they're not, we sit down and everything's been discussed and they're not eligible, let's say at this time for the benefit, they're just not medically eligible. I will ask them if they want me to look over their situation and see if we can help them plan their retirement, plan their long-term care,
Yes.
plan, just like you just said, plan for emergencies.
Yes, because it's really, we are in a very, very difficult time as a nation.
Oh, yes.
And first, because us baby boomers are moving into the I'm getting older by the day.
I mean, there's more and more people retiring.
10,000 a day.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, can you believe that?
10,000 a day.
10,000 of us are moving out of this system a day. And as I've shared with people over the last 5 years, sorry, it's not the economy. It's these big baby boomers that are leaving the market that are creating all kinds of shifts in terms of equities and real estate. We're a big, big, big elephant, and that elephant's getting old.
And there will be even more of a need for that.
And there will be more of a need. That's my point in having you on. Because of what's coming down the pike, and it's coming fast.
Yes.
Really fast. You look at 10,000 people a day coming out, multiply that times a month, times a year. That is a lot of people that are moving into the I'm getting older category faster. And this benefit would help many veterans, even if they weren't eligible right now. The fact that they're beginning to anticipate
Exactly.
and plan appropriately, don't you think that's something they should be doing?
Well, yeah, if I sit down with, in my normal business, I sit down with a person that's a potential. If I find out he's a veteran, we go over this because I want to show him, hopefully, you're never eligible.
Right, that would be the optimal situation.
Because medically, who wants to be?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that would be the optimal situation.
But if
Jim.
in case, we all know as we get older, health deteriorates. So when I sit down with a client in my retirement business and he's a veteran, I will definitely point this benefit out to him and say, hey, here's what you may need to do to be eligible for this if you ever need it. Now, of course, it's up to him.
Yeah, but they're going to need it.
They're going to need it.
Because the statistics, 75% of us are going to need it.
Yes.
That's the facts. I tell folks, I'm sorry I didn't write this story, but I'm certainly living it out. And that is, the longer you live, it's not even about dying today. It's about living. And what are you going to do to preserve your assets for a legacy for your children and your grandchildren?
Well, you got to remember, too, when this 1951, when this benefit was started, most people didn't live past 65.
Exactly.
Probably one of the reasons for years and years and years this wasn't talked about much.
Right, because they weren't around.
They weren't around, no.
But the comforting thing is because it was funded so nicely and was not used.
And it's still got.
I mean, the asset value of that account, I'm sure, is in the billions.
Yes.
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 Gotta be.
Yeah, gotta be. Just because of the number of people that have not tapped into it, and should.
Oh, sure.
And
if they're eligible medically and they meet all the parameters, they served. And I don't even care if they weren't in combat, because you and I know that's not your fault when you join the service. They tell you where you're going to go. Exactly.
Exactly. So tell me the process.
Well, what I generally do is if somebody thinks they may be eligible, they'll call me.
Okay.
Now, they have options. They can apply online with the VA themselves. They can go to the local VA. There's a lot of questions in there, though, that they'll have, and the paperwork, you know how government paperwork is.
The paperwork is
It's sizable.
It's sizable.
Right.
And intimidating, I might add.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there are questions that people have about what does the government consider income? What does the government consider assets? Those are the kind of things we can tell people and help.
Because what you don't want to have happen, Jim, is for them to submit an application that is not correct.
Happens all
and the government
time.
I mean, it's like,
I had a lady in Monroe, Ohio, wonderful lady. Her husband was a Korean War vet. He's actually in a hospital bed in his house.
Okay.
And he's never getting out of it. That's how disabled he is.
Oh my goodness. So that's 24-hour care. Is she his
She was
caregiver?
doing it. Church members were doing it. Having help come in do it, and she applied for the aid and attendance benefit. Somebody had told her about it. They didn't have a substantial income from Social Security coming in. They were denied. They still had a little too much. She did not know what she is legally allowed by the VA.
Right, because they're not going to tell you. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's on their, like, somewhere it's in their paperwork.
Somewhere.
And some of the things you read, like it'll talk about medical deductions, and I haven't met a person yet that's read it and did not think that trips to the doctor or co-pays you could subtract from your income. No, you can't. That's not what they're talking about when they talk. So that's why it always helps to talk to someone like me or my attorney and get those questions answered.
Right.
Because this poor lady, I did help her. Was
she able to get qualified?
Yes, she did.
Well, good for her.
Yes.
Good for her.
That was nice. It's made a whole total difference.
Yes.
Now, because you know how it is when you have volunteer help from, say, a church. They come when they can. They got their own lives.
Right, they do. They do.
And with this benefit, she could hire somebody to come in a couple hours every day, 7 days a week,
give her
a break.
Exactly. Because you know, caregivers are the ones that cross over.
I don't know how they do it.
Well, the statistics say they die before the person they're taking care of.
I don't doubt it. I don't know how they do that job.
It's rough.
But they are angels.
Yes, they are angels. Yes, they are angels. So, in a situation where her husband was completely infirm and she had a volunteer care force along with herself, taking care of him 24/7, this product enabled her to be able to bring on additional help for his care, to keep him in a home environment. That's important.
It is important.
That is. That's very, very important. Can we clear up a question that's been asked of me a lot since I posted this information on my Facebook? If a person is already in a nursing facility, long-term care, and is on Medicaid, right? Is this a suitable product for?
Not really.
That's what
the most they can get, and it's very hard to get.
Well, they're already getting a government program.
Exactly. The most they can get is $90 a month.
It's not even worth it.
No, I mean, if it is something that they are easily eligible for.
So that's $90 in addition to the little $50.
Yeah, it's $45 or $50 they're allowed to keep.
Yeah. So.
And if somebody wanted that and they called me and asked me to do the app, help them do the app, or their family did, I'd show them how to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
But we don't target that group necessarily,
because they're already in a long-term care
and a lot of them can't get it anyway because they're married. And remember, the VA, for all purposes of income and assets, consider the couple as one.
Right, as does Medicaid.
Right. So if she has a sizable, well, not even sizable, but if she has an income, she's and he's in Medicaid already, then they're probably over those limits.
Right, right. So with an assisted living scenario, the monthly fees that are assessed to the client are deductible?
Yeah, if, let's say,
as an expense?
I like to use easy numbers. Let's just say someone has $1,000 a month coming in income.
Okay.
And you need to get that income legally down to zero within VA guidelines. You can subtract in Ohio, different in some states, but in Ohio, you can subtract the cost of that assisted living home from your income. Now you have met the income limits.
That works.
Yes.
That works.
Yes.
That works wonderfully.
Yes.
So it would seem to me that every veteran that's in an assisted living should be getting this product.
They could be made eligible, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's just logical.
You have to know the deductions, and that's
how it works.
And sometimes that's why the VA accreditation with an attorney comes in handy.
Absolutely. Well, I would have to think so, because the attorney would have a legal understanding and a fiduciary.
Plus, you're talking federal paperwork.
Exactly.
I mean, even though you can fill it out online,
yeah,
it's still federal paperwork.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yes, it is. That is exciting. That is exciting. Do you have any case stories to share with me and my viewers in the remaining time we have that might be interesting, how lives changed as a result of this?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite is the one I mentioned earlier, the lady from Mason that was making a decision. I mean, it's like God delivered the mail that day. I mean, it's
He did deliver the mail that day.
Yeah, I mean, here she is sitting there. Can you imagine this? She's in her wheelchair. She's at her kitchen table. She's looking over her bills, and she is desperate. She won't call her kids and say, I need help.
Right.
I mean, they come over and help her, but she won't say, I need money.
Right.
So
but she needs money.
But she needs money.
Yeah.
And when I get this phone call, this voice is cracking and crying, and I'm thinking, oh, Lord, what have I done?
Right, exactly.
And she said, Jim, this is so-and-so. I just want you to know what happened to me this morning. And she said she's sitting there trying to decide, do I pay for fuel oil or do I pay for food? So she calls the bank to see exactly how much little money she has in her account.
Right.
And they say 7,000 something. And she said, I know I don't. Where did that come from? Well, they can look that up, of course.
Quickly.
And they said VA. And she just had to call me.
Oh, see, that is such an on-time story for today.
And even though that extra 1,000 a month might not sound a lot to a lot of people, but when you're on a fixed income and your house is paid for, but you've got all, your heating bills.
Your real estate taxes, your homeowners, your, heating, water, including sewerage. Those are expenses that are only going up.
I had another guy come to me as a Vietnam vet. At the time he came to me, he was 63.
Okay.
And he said he'd heard I did something with the veterans, and he said, am I eligible? And I said to him, well, I don't know. How medically bad off are you? I know he had diabetes. I know he had
high blood pressure.
Very high blood pressure. And he had some mobility problems. But you never know by just looking at
Right,
something.
right.
And he told me, he said, well, I'm on SSI. I said, you are? I said, can you...
SSI, SSDI?
DI.
Oh.
And I said, could you show me your disability letter from the Social...
Yeah, Social Security.
And he had it. And I said...
Oh, my God.
I said, well, you're medically eligible.
Right now.
Well, we sat down to do the paperwork. This poor guy was only getting $400 and some a month. That was his fixed income.
From Social Security. Right. It's not a lot of money under that program.
So when he was accepted by the VA,
yes,
he ended up getting not the full benefit, and there's other reasons for that sort of thing, but he got an extra $1,200 tax-free a month. Now, you talk about changing somebody's life.
That works.
Yes.
It all looks green to me.
There you go, and especially when you're on those fixed incomes.
Well, that's the biggest challenge as I see us moving down the pike, which is inflation is back on the warpath. No, Jim, I went to buy myself some bread 2 days ago, my favorite brown berry bread. It is $4.29 a loaf, Jim. Exactly.
How much is that up?
From $2.
Good Lord.
From $2?
Well, that reminds me, I'm glad you said that, because they do adjust
Oh, do they?
the VA benefit
say,
for inflation.
They're getting ready to get bigger checks,
Yes.
because I sat in my grocery store and I was so stunned, I called my mother right then and I said, "What is happening?" And she said, "Oh, my dear, you're not on a fixed income. We already know what is happening.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough out here, and seniors are struggling." And I said, "Well, I'm struggling because I'm not going to buy this bread." I can't believe it. But with inflation, and you say they do have
make an adjustment. Yeah.
They do have a cost of living. Is that a COLA or is that just an inflation?
I think it's just an inflation adjustment.
Okay, well, here we are.
Well, of course, according to the government, we don't have any inflation.
Oh, who cares?
I was going to say, I don't think they ever go out and buy bread.
I'm like, go with me and buy my favorite.
Or fill up the
bread.
gas tank.
Or fill up the gas tank.
Exactly.
I mean, just reality is all around us. So this is, I want to kind of summarize,
Okay.
again, because people get things confused, and including me. So just summarily, the Aid and Attendance product is a product offered by the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Correct.
Its inception was 1951 or thereabouts.
About that, yes.
It was designed for medically impaired, by doctor
Right.
definition, veterans 65 and over, or if under 65, completely disabled.
Yes.
So that's plus. We also, under the terms of the program, you have qualifying guidelines for
Correct.
income and assets, and we recommend that you work with a VA accredited attorney in that area.
Mm-hmm.
It applies to widows as well as veterans.
Correct.
Lesser benefit,
Yes. lesser.
unless she's been in the military herself.
Yes, and then she's a veteran.
And then she's a veteran.
Right.
It is a lifetime benefit, correct?
Correct.
It pays out kind of like your regular pension check.
Mm-hmm.
The nice thing about it is that it is tax-free money.
Isn't that nice?
Oh my gosh, you're making me happy right up on this television station.
And
You're
one other
making me
thing, I'm
happy.
glad you said that it comes every year.
Okay.
Because this is very important. Once you are accepted,
Okay.
that veteran will get what's known as an EVR letter, and it's an evaluation letter. You have to fill it out correctly, have things changed, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the VA wants to make sure
Sure
you're
that
still
Making the same kind of money, whatever,
right,
medically
right.
impaired. Well,
Right.
here's the problem with that. You got to remember, a lot of these letters are going out to octogenarians.
Right.
They don't know how to fill this
Right.
out. So that's why, if they work with someone like me or call me up, I will make that trip. I will go out to their house every year and make sure they filled that out right.
Well, that is a very, very, very good thing to know, Jim. And for those of you that are watching this amazing show, and it is an amazing show dealing with American veterans, and a free benefit, free, no strings attached, but you do have to qualify. And you have to be a veteran, and there are income and asset guidelines. However, here's the key thing. It can change your life. And you worked hard and you put your life on the line, so why not take advantage of a product that can change your life financially? We're living in tough times, viewers. Let me not kid you about it. You already know, including my $4.29 loaf of bread. I'm still choking. Things are changing. So take advantage of this. My guest today was Jim Florio, an American Veterans Advocate. And should you have more interest in learning about the program, the website address was again?
RespectTheVet.org.
RespectTheVet.org. I'm concluding today's show with, again, blessings to you and it's been great being a part of your world. You take care, and I'll see you the next time. I'm Michelle Graves, the Money Lady. You take care.